I'm here with Marc Van Landuyt and Steph Zamorano, the miserable liberal. We're talking about the debates. The presidential debates used to be sponsored by the League of Women Voters, right? So it was all objectively fair, right? So they were interested in democracy. The League of Women Voters, they were interested in getting the most information out to the voters as possible. In fact, they sponsored the Carter Ford debates, the Reagan Carter debates, and the Reagan Mondale debates. League of Women Voters. They would choose the venues and who would get let in, and they would choose the moderators and the press that would. So they did the whole thing, and then the candidates would have to show up in the League of Women Voters. And this, by the way, is from the League of Women Voters. They made a whole video about it. They said the presidential debate train was working to deliver balanced, nonpartisan information to American voters. But in 1987, the campaign train got hijacked. And here's a videotape from Nancy Newman. At the time, this was during the Dukakis was running against George Herbert Walker Bush. And listen to what she had to say about what happened. Ready?
In early 1987, our site selection process and other planning already underway, the chairman of the two political parties announced plans to sponsor their own series of debates. They had set up a commission, they said, and they thanked the League for all we had done and urged us to step aside. We did not. Since their press conference that day, the League has argued that an organization set up by the political parties is not an appropriate sponsor for presidential debates. Representatives of the two campaigns came to us on September 28th, just 2 weeks before the debate, with an agreement we were told we had to sign. The agreement had been reached by the campaign chairman, and it spelled out everything. Between themselves, the campaigns had determined what the television cameras could take pictures of. They had determined how they would select those who would pose questions to the candidates. They had determined that the press would be relegated to the last two rows of the hall. They had determined that they would pack the hall with their supporters. And they had determined the format. The campaign's agreement was a closed-door masterpiece. The agreement was a done deal, they told us. We were supposed to sign it and agree to all of its conditions. If we did not, we were told we would lose the debate. It's clear that the campaigns wanted the League's stamp of integrity on a shoddy product. Obviously, we have been presented with campaign demands before. We have agreed to some and we have challenged and negotiated others. But never in the long history of the League of Women Voters have two candidates' organizations come to us with such stringent, unyielding, and self-serving demands. In Winston-Salem, which you know was not a League of Women Voters debate, they went so far as to insist on reviewing the moderator's opening comments. It turned out that the League had two choices. We could sign their closed-door agreement and hope the event would rise above the manipulations, or we could refuse to lend our trusted name to this charade. The League of Women Voters is announcing today that we have no intention of becoming an accessory to the hoodwinking of the American public. Under these circumstances, the League is withdrawing its sponsorship of the presidential debates scheduled for mid-October in Los Angeles.
So there it is. So she said the hoodwinking of the American public. And so that's what debates are today. But the good thing is that right when she said that, the press really made those candidates pay the price. The press didn't do anything. The press doesn't care. The press didn't care a bit. You know what the press did? The press said, who cares? It's still on TV, right? Yeah, all right. That's all we care about. Is it still a TV show? Yes. Okay. Who cares? And that's exactly what happened, right, Marc?
Well, when I was growing up, the League of Women Voters was my favorite DC comic book.
So then,
though the Justice League with Batman and Thurgood Marshall was pretty good too. Well, look, after 1987, when the Presidential Debate Commission took over, which is a private organization run by the two parties, you get an incredible lowering of standards. And this ties in with the deregulation of media. So you get this race to the bottom with people like that has. It's a process that has given us Dan Quayle's, George W. Bush's. It's given us Iraq wars, and it's given us Donald Trump's.
It gave it Donald
And the
Trump, Sarah Palin's, Mitt
Yes.
Romney's, Dan Quayle's, George W. Bush. Yeah, it's given us this. This is what it's let, and Donald Trump. Yeah, this is what this system gives us. And there's no space anymore in our political conversation in America for any room for anybody outside these two parties, which are now really one party because they all answer to the same donors. Wall Street,
Yes.
military-industrial complex, the fossil fuel industry, and big pharma, and big insurance.
Well, a quick footnote: the Republicans and Democrats put the debates in the hands of the League of Women Voters because if they turned it over to the media, because of fairness doctrine, they would have been forced to give equal time to third parties. So it was preferable. They were stuck between a rock and a group of women, and they chose the group of women. But the League of Women Voters, of which my mother was a member of it, they were remarkable. They held the standards very high of balance, of scrutiny, of verification. And it's important to have an outside party, a third party in the election process that is there to represent the voters, not the political parties in the election process.
That is a great point. That there needs to be a voice on stage at the debates that represents the voters and not the political parties, which represent the donors.
Well, it's evident that they found out, they all figured out, the campaigns, that we can't have this objective platform. We can't have them actually vulnerable to questions that the public wants to ask. Why don't we manipulate, control it? And then we'll go ahead and we'll let the League of Women lend their name to this, but we won't have them really involved. And go ahead and give women the vote, but why don't you shut down their participation in the process?
Ha!